Yay!
All right. Welcome to the Just Because podcast with your podcast.
Wow, you already fucked up.
Woo! On fire today. All right.
Oh, by the way, we're not cutting this out.
Okay.
We're going to keep going because this is just too funny at this point.
Welcome to the Just Because podcast with your hosts, Marodelo and
Dan the Man.
most certainly.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I would go with semi-certainly.
Semi-certainly. That's
Listen,
about
I don't like to blow smoke up my own ass. So it's just interesting that my last name has the word man in it. So
there you go. Yeah, don't think too highly of Dan the Man. It's just his name.
Exactly. And that's what I want people to remind. I'm just a dude that likes to talk about nonsense and make a lot of weird noises.
Me too.
So it works, I guess. I don't know.
In today's songs we have.
All right. We'll start with yours.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now because I just listened to it for the third time.
Good to hear.
So, Mean to Me by Crowded House. I got it right. Wow. There's a first time for everything. So Mean to Me by Crowded House. One interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me the impression of like Bob Seger-esque, I will say.
Yeah.
With and then I would say, but the singer sounds a little bit like the guy from Oasis.
Yes.
So
yes.
like I would say like Bob Seger or even Bruce Springsteen, like band vibes,
Mm-hmm.
but Oasis singing.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it. And the whole reason I say that is because it has that interesting tone that you found in like the late 80s, early 90s and you give me a horn section, I'm obviously going to love the song. I'm a ska kid. I always will be. But anytime you incorporate a saxophone, a trumpet into a song, I'm going to like it. But the whole reason I'm saying that late 80s kind of vibe with the rock bands is because that's a lot of what it was. It's like the guitars, the drums, the bass are all up front. In the back, you get this faint horn section, which I will always want in the forefront, again, because of my preferences. But I liked it. But like I said, interesting choice.
Yeah, no, I thought it was an interesting choice because it is very like that 80s-esque type sound.
Yep.
And the story's kind of funny. It's about going on a date with a girl and realizing how horrible the date is and then wanting the date to end so desperately.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, okay. Now that kind of makes sense. Because halfway through the song, I'm like, what is going on here? So, okay, that clarification does help. Interesting. Okay.
No, yeah, it took me a bit to analyze the lyrics, and I also wanted to get your take on the lyric analysis. But of course,
I mean,
it's hard to tell.
Well, right at the bat, I knew it was something odd just from the way it starts. And then whenever it starts to kind of keep going into it, I'm like, okay, like it's obviously something with a girl, and I don't know the rest of the dynamics behind this, but it's definitely got something to do with a love life scenario.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the song, he's like dipping his toes into getting to know this girl, and then he finds out she's got all this baggage, and she lets it run her life, and he's kind of like,
breaks a bit. And
yeah.
And I mean, and I would say there is something to be said about bad dates getting great songs out of them.
Right.
Like almost nobody writes a song about a good date.
That's true.
So
yeah, there's no conflict resolution when it comes to a good date. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I mean. So, well, hold on. Let me backpedal 1 second.
What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about the country music, where like it starts off like, and then you get into like the people like keying their cars and talking about their trucks and being super sad. So like maybe a song comes out of a good date that turns bad eventually, but I'm gonna say if it's first date, no.
Right.
That's my hot take.
Yeah, it's
Again,
kind
I'm
of,
an idiot that likes to talk into a microphone. Who wants to listen to me, feel free. As I wear my purple shirt.
it is a nice shirt. I'll give you that. I like the purple. It looks
It's that company I was telling you about that I texted you about, that Fresh Clean Teas.
Fresh Clean Teas
Got to get some of their stuff. Fresh Clean Teas.
sponsor.
Some shit. Your shirts are on point. By the way, Liquid Death Mountain Water, sponsor us, please. The shit is delicious.
Oh, that's mountain water. I thought that was
sparkling mountain water, my friend.
I
And I'm
thought-
helping out the environment with the tin can. None of this single waste plastic bullshit. Excuse me while I plug a product, but
We're not sponsored. We just believe in the product.
I buy this stuff already and I get it sent to my house. It's amazing.
If I could plug a drink real quick, I would plug Electrolyte. This stuff is like the best electrolyte drink I've ever had. Keeps me completely hydrated in the studio and during sessions.
High praises. I like it.
Yes, exactly.
We'll get into some more product placement whenever you and I get on the tangent in a bit, but yeah, but no, I mean, I did like the song, but like I said, it's definitely got those big 80s 90s vibes.
Yeah, no, and that's like a big thing with me was like, I grew up on like, boomer jams, like, the stuff that my dad listened to, like, because he worked from home. I was growing up, so everywhere he drove me, I listened to whatever he played.
Yeah,
and that was.
But I mean, at least you got more cultured with music, whereas the stuff that I had to listen to growing up was like doo-wop.
Oh yeah,
which explains a lot about my musical taste now. But that's a topic for a different day. But yeah, I mean, I grew up with like my dad listening to like old like 50s doo-wop and stuff like that. Now, granted, I still do like a little bit of Sinatra and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
When you're like 5 and you're listening to like old 50s jams, I'm just like, I don't like this.
Yeah, it's like, what is this sound? You know what I mean?
It's basically what it was. I was like, I don't understand this. And he's like, this is what we used to sing on the streets. I was like, you used to sing out in the middle of the street? What the hell was wrong with you?
And Uncle Dan, of course. Oh man.
Oh, don't worry. We'll have an entire episode dedicated to his stories.
Oh, dude, we gotta bring him on.
Because that'll get some views.
You gotta bring him on here. It'll be fun.
Oh no, he'll be. We'll get him as a series regular. I was calling, be like, you bored? What are you doing? Come here. Turn your computer. Talk to us for an hour.
You want to come on here like once every year, 6 months?
Yeah. Come just unload all the shit that's bothering you. Then we'll both look at each other at the end of it and be like, okay, we can't air this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we gotta chop like 30 minutes of this shit out.
Yeah. Why was your last one 10 minutes? Because my dad is insane. So we'll let that go. All right. So what did you think of the one I sent you?
So Wire by Particle. I thought it was quite interesting. It reminds me a lot of, again, it's different because there's real instrumentation in it. There's real synths, there's real guitars, real bass, real drums in a music like this. It reminds me a lot of like EDM tunes today, but with more real instruments, and there's more dynamic parts.
I will agree with that. And here's the other interesting thing about that. So they were they were one of probably the very first bands to kind of like take this trajectory.
Yeah.
Where it's like we want to do like the rock band stuff, but we want to be instrumental, but we also want to have like a keyboardist / DJ. And they started doing this in like the early 2000s before anybody had any clue what this was. And then so the original band I think broke up in like 2006 or 7 because nobody like kind of understood what this was. And then there are bands like the New Deal, Lotus, like Sun Squabby, all these other bands like all these other bands that basically took this exact format and are now selling shows out. So Particles were like the pioneers of this, and now they saw the success of it. And then this was the first record they put out in like 14 years. And the only original members are the bassist and I think the keyboardist.
Wow.
But when actually I went to this show whenever like the year that they released the record, they came to Pittsburgh, and we went with two of our friends, and it was in this tiny ass theater that doesn't exist anymore. R.I.P. the Rex Theater in Pittsburgh. Still sad about this, but the show was awesome. It was on like a Wednesday night or like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. So it was like, who wants to get weird on a weeknight?
Sometimes it's the way to go. I found some of the best shows I've gone to, like they're smaller and they're more intimate, and when they're in the middle of the week, it's kind of like you never know what kind of crowd you're gonna get.
I agree. No, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, the whole reason I sent you that song was twofold. Because one, it's a good song. It's fun. It makes you like want to do stuff. Kind of like the same thing I said. Same thing I kind of said with the lettuce song I sent you. Like makes you want to dance around, put you in a good mood, makes you want to do stuff. And then was kind of how it segued into the topic we will talk about today.
Self-worth.
Because I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, hey, yeah, this makes me feel good. So we're gonna talk about this. Like I'll send you the video that I took of the show. Once we're done here, just to give you like an idea of what it's like, because like because they did play this song, and I think I got a good like 2 minutes of it on video. And what you're talking about, like as you're seeing, like when you're thinking about like the binary code and the stuff dropping, you'll see how the lights drop and they change color like during a lot of those transitions. So you're like, oh,
that's cool though. But that's what makes instrumental music experiences though, is the lights.
Oh yeah.
And because those shows are unlike any shows I've ever seen. It's not just a band. It's a whole.
It's a production. Yeah, it's a production is what it is. And like some of those guys, like I mean, two of them I got to give props to. One was it was the same thing. The first year I went to the Electric Forest back in 2013. First time I ever went to a music festival. Loved it. It was fun. But there were two groups that did it better than there were two groups that really did it better than anybody else. And the one is actually, it's their festival. It's a string cheese incident. They do 3 nights, and they play 2 shows. Like they play like for like 4 hours every night. Their lights are incredible. It's just super trip. I can't even explain it because it doesn't even do it justice. I'll have to send you a video so you can look at it, because they're crazy. And the other two is actually a tie between STS9 and Spangle. Now, STS9 is another band that's kind of like Particle. It's kind of like Lotus, where it's just all instrumental stuff, but their lights are incredible. And Spangle was a DJ, but he had this like 35-foot pyramid set up, and people were dancing in it, and he was DJing in the middle of it.
Wow, nice.
It was insane. So like when you go see stuff like that, like obviously you go because you appreciate the music, but then it's like, it's kind of, I would say it equates to kind of like why you go to those like medieval times places for dinner. There's like, oh, dinner and a show.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like along that same mentality where it's, oh, I get to see sweet music and I get to see a cool light show. This is the best thing ever.
It's a feast for the eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that segues into today's topic.
Which is
self-worth.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Let's talk about it.
Hitting the deep stuff early, man.
No, I mean, you know what? We're 3 episodes in. We might as well show these people who we are.
Do we really want to unleash that on the world? Yeah, I feel like that's like we should get to like maybe like 50.
50.
Before people are like, all right, we're comfortable with them. We can just get super weird. And they're like, we did not see this coming.
It is on episode 3.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so self-worth. So the whole reason that I want to talk about this is because it's something that, one, I don't think a lot of people think about, a lot of people talk about, a lot of people have open discussions about.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, and it really took me many, many years to figure my own self-worth out. And the whole reason I wanted to talk about it was because obviously this is not my day job. I want this to become my day job. I
Right.
have a day job. By the way, if you need any HR advice, hit me up.
He's
It's
the
what I
man.
do. It's what I do. Um, but the whole reason that I want to talk about this was I've been job searching. Obviously, we're in this very, very weird time of jobs being sometimes non-existent and sometimes too much.
Right.
And as I've like hopped around, as I've been looking, um, I know what I want, and I'm unwilling to sort of compromise on some of those things. And I'm not. I don't think I'm asking for anything super outlandish. I would say money wise, fit wise, anything like that. But
Right.
I got offered a position. I ended up declining it, and I did it for two reasons. One, um, it wasn't exactly where I saw myself being happy, and it was one of those things that there were a lot of factors that kind of played into it. Like I didn't like the commute was a little bit too bad. Like there wasn't a lot of flexibility. There wasn't a lot of these things that I've had, and I don't want to compromise at this point. Um, I don't think it's unfair to say I would like to be remote a couple days a week because obviously it's working in this world that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And granted, there are some industries where yes, you do have to be there, but it's not everywhere. And even the ones that are saying, oh, you have to be in the building, if I have a cell phone, I'm available. It's the exact same thing as me being there. If I have to come in for something, I will gladly do it. If I need to be on a meeting like this, I will gladly do it. But for the most part, like I think the traditional office thing is starting to die out, and there are companies that are embracing it. And there are others that are kind of going to be stuck in their ways, and they're just going to say, "I'm not doing this."
No.
So
Yeah.
I had the conversation with my wife, and then just kind of me sitting back and thinking about it. I'm like, this is not worth my frustration, my blood, sweat, and tears, my sanity. So I was just like, I need to make a decision for me. I'm gonna be picky. Thankfully, we're able to allow me to do that.
Yeah.
But there's definitely times where things need to be prioritized. And now is kind of the time where people are starting to, I think, either think about that or starting to realize it.
Yeah. But because it's interesting because I feel like every company should be embracing this remote world that we live in. It seems
They
like
should.
a newer time and a newer thing to do, and it gives us a lot more time to not only get more stuff done around the house, but get more stuff done in general. Honestly, because we're in a more comfortable environment
Yeah.
where, and then but then there are some jobs where like my job for
Yeah.
being a musician and touring, and it's definitely a thing you have to be in person for, um unless you get offered a good position to do live streaming, which we will touch on later when we get to my stuff. But no,
Sure.
I completely get it. Like if you have the chance to be picky about what you want to do and how you can support yourself, do it.
Do it. Yeah.
It's definitely because I know that I've gotten the chance to be a little picky about what I want as well, and
Yeah.
it's led me in a very, very positive, happy direction.
Mhm.
Um, so was the reason that you didn't see yourself happy at this job, was it because of what you were doing or the type of work environment you saw it coming?
To be frank, sorry, I can't talk right now. It was a myriad of things. One, I didn't want to have a commute that was almost an hour each way every day
Oh wow.
because that sucks. Um, the industry is fine. The industry is what it is. I've worked in it before, that didn't bother me at all. Now, um, where I was, there was the facility was a little bit insane. That's the most diplomatic way I'm going to be able to put it. And then just and again, I told Carrie this whenever I came home, or I was driving home from the last interview I had with them. I was just like, something just doesn't feel right. And uh the so and it was between some of the upper management, like the two largest people were butting heads over nonsense. And I was kind of like, I was like, I don't need to deal with this. And the one person that I would have directly reported to was the one that had the bigger problem.
Right.
So I was basically of the mindset that, one, I'm not going to be a yes man. I'm going to tell you what it is. If you don't like it, that's what you pay me for. I tell you, like, if you're doing illegal shit, you're going to stop doing illegal shit, or we're going to get screwed.
Right.
So it was one of those things where I think they wanted somebody that was going to be a little bit more, I would say, somewhat passive and things like that. And then even before I got the offer, I had a weird conversation with the person that would have been my boss. And I should have hung up the phone, but I didn't. While we were having the conversation, they tried to like lowball me initially. So I should have just hung the phone up. Because at that point I kind of knew, I was like, this is just not what I want to deal with. But I was polite. I dealt with it, and then I was just said, hey, this is what I would like. I ended up getting the amount that I wanted, but throughout the conversation I had with them when they initially lowballed me, I knew I never would truly get the actual amount that I wanted. Because they alluded to basically, oh, we need to have some wiggle room for this, that, and the other thing. And I just was kind of thinking, this is going to be frustrating. It's going to be something probably within like a month or two. I'm going to hate this. I'm not going to want to do this. And I'm going to be back to square one where I am right now, which is looking again. So I basically took the night, came to the conclusion that it's not something that I want to do. And then just before that, like I talked to Carrie, I talked to my parents, and all three of them were of the mindset, well, they basically said, are you happy with this, with the offer? And I was like, not really. And all three of them said, well, that's your answer. And it really is. So it's one of those things where I want I want people to understand. I want people to talk more about, if you have a gut feeling that something feels weird or something's off, or you have a gut feeling this isn't going to be a fit for you, it's okay to say no. You don't have to jump from opportunity to opportunity, or whatever you're doing. You don't always have to say yes to everything. And it took me about 5 years to figure that out, because the last like 3 or 4 jobs I had, I jumped because it was the first thing I had.
Right.
And I told myself after my previous company closed that I was going to be picky. And I almost wasn't until I went back and thought about it again. And I was like, no, I told myself that this is what I want to do. And I deserve I deserve to be somewhere that's going to kind of be in line with what I want, and going to value me as a person as well as an employee.
Right. No, I completely feel that. Like, I had a similar thing going on with me. I was in February, I started working with, I'm not obviously not gonna throw any names out there,
Right.
obviously. Um, but it was someone who works in social media and basically management, in a sense, like in a remote way. And
Mhm.
they were from, so there's a bit of a distance there, but we were able to do everything remotely. And just the way that they kind of ran their business and the kind of way that they ran their work really just it didn't sit well with me from the start. And I remember
Mhm.
we got on a call and they 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 basically gaslit me because I wasn't able to answer their questions the way they wanted them answered. Like they were asking me like, "Oh, when's your music video going to be recorded? When's it going to be released? When is this? When is this? When is that?" And it
Mhm.
was in a time where we planned to shoot the Breathe You video. By the way,
Hey,
if you haven't heard it, my latest single, Breathe You, and I have a new single coming out this week, Untouchable, Friday. So look out for that. Um,
this
but
music.
I know you're gonna like it, Danny. I'm excited.
I was in the pitch meeting when you did the whole like here's like the 6 songs I want to do. I gave you my notes.
That's true. That's true. But essentially, they were asking me all these questions about picking an exact date for all these things to fall into place, and we were trying to put together a time to shoot the video. But then there was also all the horrible weather that month, as well as people, and then having to move the date, and then some people not being available, and then it was just a clusterfuck of trying to figure out, how can we get the whole cast in one place at one time where there's no weather problems, no one's sick, no one's this, no one's that, where everyone is just able to agree to get together. And
Now, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
was this February 2020 or like
oh no,
three
this
months ago?
this year,
February.
a couple months ago, yeah, a couple months
Okay,
ago.
so I would say 2 things.
Yeah,
I understand you're in Nashville. You can look up the weather in Pennsylvania in February. I'll give you a hint. It sucks.
it does. It
And,
absolutely does.
and part two, still in a pandemic, you ass clowns.
Right.
Like, was that not on your radar?
Exactly. And that was another thing, is that some people weren't able to participate because they're like, I have family members who are really, really at risk. I can't take the risk. And then
Yep.
it was also a matter of making sure everyone wasn't in contact with anyone who had it, and then also wasn't exposed for 2 weeks. So it was just a bunch. And then all the other stuff that she was asking me was stuff I couldn't really answer. But where this is going is she pinned me for having an attitude with her. And so I get where she could think I could have an attitude, because it's over Zoom and you can't really tell what someone's real like mode, or like their real, I guess, energy is. And plus it was like our second call at the same time. And then also like she didn't really, again, because that she didn't really know me too well. And it was, and I was more frozen than pissed off or upset. I wasn't pissed that she was asking me these questions. I
Yeah.
was upset that I wasn't able to answer them. And then she told me like I was copying an attitude. And in that moment, I was sitting across from someone on my team, and like I could, like, she looked at me, she was like about to close the laptop and be like, we're gonna shut this down. But we decided to go with it
Yeah.
because I cleared it up with her, and I'm like, no, I swear to God, I'm not having an attitude. This is just like, I'm trying to answer your questions, and I'm a little stumped, and I'm sorry if it came off that way. It's like not the way that I meant it. I would never do
Right.
that. That's not the kind of, I'm not a petty person, right? But then it just escalate, and then like it would escalate, and then she would kind of like put me. She would kind, how people, they just like, they metaphorically they hold you up against the lockers. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's kind of
they want the answer. They want the answer now. They want the answer that they want, and they're going to get
exactly.
it out of you whether you like it or not. And that's not in a position you ever want to be in.
Exactly. And she was all they 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 were
We'll
also,
fix this in post. It's fine.
we will. And they were also kind of doing this thing where they would give themselves too many clients at once. And they would bounce back and forth between each client. And they told me that they treated all their clients the same. And constantly doing this to their
It's not
clients,
going to get you anywhere.
it's not going to get anybody anywhere. It's not going to help anybody with anything. It's not a way to run your business. And eventually eventually it got to a point where they were going to charge me $100 more a month to help with the services they were helping me with. It's just like a whole good handful of different stuff that it was all a la carte, right?
Yeah.
Because when you have certain members on your team, some jobs are covered, some aren't.
Mhm.
But with the one job, the biggest job, was the one I'm talking about. They were
Mhm.
going to charge $100 more per month for doing half the job. And at that point, I was like, you know what?
I'm done.
Yeah, and you know, and here's the thing, theoretically, it's half the job because half the job was helping with posting and then helping with engagement, you know. But the thing is that the engagement it's you know, the posts really mean only about 10% of that because it's what you do with those posts
Mhm.
and what you do with the engagement. So it's really 90% of the job of really the stuff that mattered was taken away, and it was like, what am I doing? And so I had to cut it off. And the worst part was I didn't even get a full refund. They tried to get every little, and then I realized something that I don't need that. Like the
Yeah.
biggest piece of advice I've been given about, especially being in the music industry, like right before COVID, I was uh I was in California, like literally like March 9th, like a couple days before. And on the 8th, I was at a show with a cousin of ours, actually, that's through Johnny, which you've heard of a bunch of times.
Mhm.
His name is Tor, and Tor is like a performance coach, and his day job is he does video depositions for court cases and stuff like that.
Okay.
But like he's like the guy to go to, and get this, he's filled in for Shinedown's guitarist on like their radio tours. Like the guy is like
So
he's the
he's a legit musician
no,
too.
he's like a terrific singer, terrific player. Like he's like one of the best hired guns that you could get in the LA area. And so lucky to have known him. But because of that, I asked him, I'm like, dude, what's the biggest piece of advice that you can give to me as a musician at the stage that I'm in right now? And
Mhm.
he sat there for a second. He took a long minute, and he looked at me and he said, get to a point where you don't need anyone to help you succeed or do your job. You don't need that. Like
Mhm.
you should only be in a position where you want to work with people and where you don't need to work with them to be successful. Because if you put all of your success into one pot, it's like, you know,
Yeah, dude,
not gonna get you anywhere.
it's the old adage, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I can't talk either today.
You
Um,
know, it's fine. It's Tuesday evening.
right.
It's been a day.
Only the second, but still a day. Um,
Yeah.
but no, like, you know, I've also realized my self-worth in like friendships with people.
Mhm.
It is like I realized I had to figure this out over years of, you know, just being a kid. But you really do become the people that you hang out with. Like you're not just
100%.
raised by your parents, you're raised by everybody around you.
100%.
And I realized like when I was a kid, obviously we all end up picking toxic people at some point to be our
Yeah.
friend. But the thing is that in most cases they're wolves in sheep's clothing and we can't really tell.
Yep.
Um, but there were people I was surrounding myself with like throughout high school and even a little bit after high school that really weren't like great people for me. And I kind of had to sit back and realize like if I can't really think of a good reason why this person is my friend or why they should be my friend, they shouldn't be my friend.
Exactly.
Um, you know, and then there's also your friends that turn into bullies or they just turn into people that just pull you down because they can't stand to see you happy. And it's no one
Yep.
deserves that.
No. Yeah, and I mean, you'll see this as you get older too, but your friend group, like the core people you hang out with, is going to dwindle a lot.
Oh yeah,
And that's fine because those are the people that you want to be around.
absolutely. Like, you know, it's hard to say how many friends I've lost over the years due to just like them dwindling away and just we lost touch or we
Yep.
lost contact. And it's not something I necessarily regret because like, you know, where would I be today if I have so many regrets? But it's like, you know, you kind of feel guilty because there was really no reason to stop being friends other than it just kind of
It
man,
fizzled out.
yeah, it just fizzled out and you just grew apart.
Yeah.
Like
I have a bunch of people like that. I mean, like all the people that like almost everybody that I was close with in high school, probably sans two people I don't talk to, and I haven't seen in probably 3 plus years, and that's fine. And
No,
I'm talking about like the people that like I swam with, like that we spent almost every day together for like 5 years.
yeah, no, I mean, I get that. They're like, I can't. I literally, there's only one person I still talk to, and we don't talk very often because we're in two different worlds. But when he comes home for college or we're in the same area, we always link up and pick up where we left off. But
Yep.
that one, like, that's the only elementary school friend that I even talk to or remotely have.
Yeah.
And then also, I think it's different because like people who don't go to college, like me, or decided not to go, um, I kept a lot of my high school friends because
Yeah.
of that reason, and because I also just found a really nice, not like we weren't all in one clique. Like I was most like more than half of the friends I had growing up, I was just friends one on one with them and not really with their group. I was kind of one of
Yeah.
those in betweeners where I could really be friends with anyone if we just gelled on on like a few things.
Yeah.
And like for example, there's this kid that we weren't super close, but we were buds. We're just gonna let's call him Jake.
Works.
Uh, and Jake was a cool guy. I enjoyed like his company and his aura, but I hated all of his friends. Like
Yeah.
every single one of his friends was like one of those douchey party kids who's just full of themselves. I think they should gold. And I remember one day, this is about a year ago, I ran into him at our local park in our town. And he was with a couple of his friends, but they weren't like the douchey friends. They were like a couple of guys I had known previously. So I was like, oh, I'm kind of cool with these guys. And we go to a different part of the park to play spike ball, and we're playing spike ball, and then the rest of his douchey friends show up. I'm like,
And I'm out.
cramping the vibe, and I was about to leave. And then there's this kid um who went to the other high school that we went to, and he got up in his car and he was dancing to like EDM dance music. He was just doing his thing. And
Yeah.
honestly, being a musician and someone who's passionate about what they do, like even if it's weird or if it's a little out of like off kilter, and you're not hurting anybody, if you're doing what you love, do it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. If you're in your own world, you're doing your own thing, it's not bothering anybody and you're not causing any type of like public disturbance. What's the like go for it.
exactly. Like at the time, he was technically a public disturbance because he was dancing on top of his car to loud music, and the music wasn't that loud. But even the Rangers are like, just be careful on top of that car. We don't want liability of you falling off.
Right, that's what I mean. It's not like he's trying to like actively like dance in the middle of the street or cause some kind of scene that's gonna disrupt other things.
Exactly. And he was being completely peaceful. Like he wasn't picking on anybody. He didn't come there to be a distraction. He was just doing his thing.
Yeah.
But then not the kid, not well, actually kind of was Jake. But his other friends started like picking on him, being like, "Boo, get off your car. What are you doing? You're such a weirdo." And it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, are you guys still in high school? Like, why are you acting like this? Like, why
Yeah,
are you?
are we five? Like, let's move on with life.
Yeah, and then Jake joined in on it, and I was just kind of like, I just like thought like, oh my god, like he just is that douche. So I
Well,
stopped
it's
hanging out with him after that. Like I was like, I'm done with you.
I would also say that's also kind of hive mentality though. So
It is.
he might so like they might not set out to be that way, but but if you get enough people of the same mindset together or like loosely of the same mindset, unfortunately, I think everybody's gonna sort of fall into that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've always been, and my mother can actually attest to this. I've always been kind of like the oddball or like this. I want to say like I was or like the kid that kind of like did his own thing, and
same here.
I'm still very much that person. And I'm gonna live my life and do what I want as long as like obviously I don't set out to hurt people and things like that. But like I'm gonna live my life and do what I want, and I kind of don't care what people say, think, whatever.
And I think that's why we get along so well, especially as only children as well,
Yeah,
both of us.
yeah,
And just I always hated the follower hive mentality of like of social groups and social cliques and just people in general. Like like every friend group I was with or still am close with, we all do our own thing. And
Yeah.
then we converge and talk about each other's lives, and that's why it's interesting. But when everyone's in the same mindset, the most interesting thing that you can do, I guess, is really just to make fun of people that are different, which is kind of just puts you into a dickish category of
Yeah.
human.
No, I agree. So, long story short,
Mhm.
know your self worth and be on that.
Anyway,
So I hear you have a fun story about something that happened to you this weekend.
yes, it was fucking awesome. Okay, so if you couldn't already read me that with sarcasm,
What that? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, me neither.
I mean,
So
you've been
I
around our family.
uh
I don't think anybody says anything without us. I don't think anybody says anything with a straight face anymore.
in this world we live in, no, absolutely not. Um, but so basically what happened was I was meeting up with a friend. I hadn't seen him in like well over a year. We were gonna go fishing,
Yep.
and I sent him to this reservoir, which is kind of like a halfway point. And at the reservoir, there's like a pull-off section, and there's some there's like a hill, train tracks, and then there's another hill that goes down to the spot. Right?
So you're looking at an incline, then a decline to get to where you're going.
It's
Okay.
very important to the story. So I pull up to the spot, and keep in mind it's a very steep incline. We're talking like a 50, maybe 60-degree angle. Keep in mind, and I'm wearing these shoes, and if you, as you can tell, the tread is very thin.
The hell are you doing wearing that up rocks?
Yeah, I don't know what. Honestly, I was in a rush that day. I completely forgot I was wearing these. But essentially, what happened was I had some stuff in my hands, like only half my stuff. I brought it to the spot, and I'm like, I got to go back and get more. My bud's like, yeah, I got you, man. So I go back, grab the other. But when I grab all the other stuff, I have like a heavy backpack. I
Okay.
have my rod in my hand. I have a speaker in the other hand. Like my hands are completely full. I can't. I'm not able to break my fall. Okay. So
Okay.
I come up, I'm fine. But when I'm going down, um, there's only one spot that you could slip because there was grip everywhere on
Mhm.
that walk down on the path, right? But on that, there was this one rock that was as smooth as this bag of fucking wipes. Okay, like it was this fucking smooth.
So
And
you're going down.
oh
Whether
yeah, I went down. But when I went down, I obviously I had that heavy bag on. All the shit in my hands couldn't break my fall. And I
Mhm.
go down. And when I go down, I land. I'll just reposition the
Yeah.
computer. But I basically landed like this. With I'm not doing it with my right leg because it's
Yeah.
hurt. But I landed in this fetal position,
Mm.
heel up against my ass, and then just my knee went way too far in. And I'm surprised I didn't knee myself in the chin. Like that's how far in my leg bent. And but I remember when it happened, I just felt something inside of not my kneecap, but like, between the femur and the tibia, like shin
Okay.
bone and thigh bone.
Yeah.
I felt something happen there. I felt like there was because it went like this, right? So I just
Yeah.
felt like a crunch, or like a squeeze. A squeeze is the best way to describe it.
Okay.
And immediately I knew something was wrong. But in the moment, because I just got there, I just saw my friend, I didn't
Mhm.
make a big deal about it.
Right.
Right. And then he handed me oh, what is it? He handed me an Angry Orchard. And after that, so I drank it and forgot about it because it suppressed the pain. Um, and plus we were walking around talking, fishing for a couple hours. But I did, as I was walking on it, I did recognize I had a lot of pain.
Okay.
Um, but again, it was being suppressed by the alcohol. So at the time, I wasn't,
Right.
I wasn't too much in pain. And again, I only had one drink, so I was not drunk driving at all. Like none of that. Shit. Don't condone it. Disclaimer.
Well,
Bad.
and here's the other thing. If you're fishing for a few hours and you have one drink,
Exactly.
I think you're gonna be
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because I was gonna my next part about the next part of the story was so we pack up to leave, we say our goodbyes, and we're like, oh, we'll go again sometime soon. And I'm like on my drive home, right?
Mhm.
And I'm driving normally, and I don't really have any pain for a couple of minutes, and I'm like, okay, this is fine.
Mm.
Then I go inside of the grocery store to pick up something to eat, right? And I'm coming out of the grocery store, and I'm like, something just doesn't feel right with my
Yeah.
leg. I wasn't limping, like, I wasn't in that much pain, but then I got down and I sat in the car,
Yeah.
and as soon as I, because with my car, there's no key. You push down a button and you push the brake in, right? So I
Right.
pushed the brake in and I'm like, okay, something kind of something.
This hurts.
Yeah. Not only did it hurt, but it just felt like there was some grinding in my knee, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I try to pull out, and I'm like, okay, I got to drive with my left foot home. Thankfully, only 5 minutes, not too far of a drive.
Yeah.
But and then as soon as I get home, I get in the door, and I'm like, I gotta sit the down. Like I can't right now. So and then I was with my mom at the time, and she was like, hey, like if you need to go to the hospital, I'll take you. It's no problem. Just
Yeah.
let me know. I sit around for about an hour, and I get up every couple of minutes to kind of gauge where my pain is, and
Mhm.
eventually got to a point where I was like, I got to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
We go to the ER. It takes a bit for me to get situated, and after I was seen and got X-rayed, the doctor was like, "Well, there's no tibial plateau fracture. You don't seem to have any ligament damage either because your knee isn't wiggling one way or the other, and
Okay.
you didn't hyperextend it, like upward. You hyperextended it in, you know."
Yeah. Your
Um,
knee didn't bend the opposite direction it's supposed to bend.
which I've done before. Another story for another time. That was horrible. But whenever that happened, um, when he finally told me that like there was no fracture, and I was like, oh, good, good. No, I won't have to get a cast. I'll know that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and he said, but the most likely injury is that you tore your meniscus, because your injuries and our pain test clearly lines up with a meniscus injury. So we're gonna get you to a specialist and get an MRI or a CAT scan. I mean,
Yeah.
they're the same thing, right?
You're asking me medical questions and I have zero idea.
Let's just say they are. Um, so I got seen yesterday, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, you probably have a meniscus thing. Don't wear the brace and crutches at the same time. Just use the crutches and the brace separately. Like if you feel like you need to keep your leg straight, wear the brace."
Okay.
Um, and he's like, having a torn meniscus is a lot like having a cavity. As long as you don't f- with it, it's not going to be painful. Um, so that's like the one saving grace, I guess, is like if I just keep it still and not put too much weight on it, I'll be fine. But I still have yet to get that CAT scan or MRI, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, Probably gonna get it, like they're gonna call me within the next day or two. Probably gonna get it tomorrow or sometime this week. And
Okay.
I'm just hoping that it's not um anything, and I hope it's not too serious, because I know that some people tear their meniscus and they have to get surgery to get that shit fixed.
But usually kids like that, it's athletes, so
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not really like an athlete, and I wasn't doing anything super athletic.
but if you manage to tear your meniscus slipping down a hill, disclaimer, I'm gonna laugh at you.
No, yeah, no, you have the full right to laugh.
Yeah, you will be at least made fun of for probably about 5 years. So
I'm cool with that, man. Like I remember when it first happened, I'm like, shit, like there's no funny fight story. Like I can't say some bandit punched me in the back of the knee or anything like that. You know,
which
um,
let's pause on that for 1 second. Who's gonna punch you in the back of the knee? Number one. Like I can see like the Karate Kid sweep the leg, but the image of somebody like bending down and just go pow. Something about that's funny to me. I don't know why,
could you
but
imagine if that was like, well, what happened to your leg?
that's your story now.
Just you have no idea, sister.
You have no idea the degenerates that are out in my town. They punch you in the back of the knee and run away.
No, but yeah, so that's honestly, but here's why that sucks is, so when you're a singer, and I mean a singer like me, and
Mhm.
you kind of get into this mode of singing standing up and having a stance, like it's kind of like it's like a fight stance, one leg in front of the other, you switch back and forth, do whatever feels natural. um I can't exactly it's interesting because singing sitting down gives you a whole different center of gravity because your center of gravity goes from being on your 2 feet to being on your, and when you're sitting on your ass like that trying to sing, breathing is a lot different. Your diaphragm is in a different spot. So like I lose a couple notes of range if I sit down when I sing. And I'm also not as powerful. So relearning how to sing either standing on one leg and kind of leaning on something like I am now,
Okay.
and holding the mic is one way.
Yeah.
But then there's also the focus of not falling over while you're singing.
Because that's
yeah, and also staying balanced, and it's just like a whole cluster of now I have to relearn a couple things.
you just channel your inner Dave Grohl when he broke his knee on tour with the Foo Fighters.
Oh,
They
dude,
built him the throne, and he just rocked out the rest of the tour with a busted leg. I mean, it worked for him.
Honestly, I hand it to him. Like, here's the thing: I'm not gonna shit on Dave Grohl because I think that like, in order to get where he got to, like, regardless of how good you are, it takes a lot of fucking hard work to get there.
Oh yeah.
And like a lot of people say, oh, he was just at the right place at the right time, blah 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 blah, or whatever.
He worked his ass off.
Yeah, at least exactly. He still works his ass off. And even though he's not exactly a singer's, he doesn't really have a method to his singing. It's still so hard to do anything while you are injured like that.
Yeah.
Like it's not because it's incapacitating. It's just you get so used to doing it without not being injured.
Yeah.
And then you have to be like, well, now I got to work around it. And the worst part, I know I'm not catastrophizing when I say this, but playing guitar and singing is going to be tough because I can't lean up against something and play guitar on one leg and sing. So it's like a whole, again, not the end of the world. 4 to 6 weeks, I'll be fine if it's a tear.
We'll just get you a scooter you can just lean your knee on. Just have it behind you, put the brake on, you'll be fine.
Fucking scooter. Hey, you know what? If my doctor approves, I'll freaking get it. I'll have to fix. I'll do something.
Right. Yeah. So you jacked up your knee falling down a hill.
Yeah. Okay.
I jacked mine up doing squats.
Oh man. Was it like one of those things where you went down for one of them and then you're like, nope, something's wrong. I need to stop.
No, it was more or less I pushed through it. And then like the next day I was like, hey, this kind of hurts a little bit, but I'll be fine. And then I did the sweat crawl and I was most definitely not fine.
Yeah, no, last week you were going off about that.
Yeah, that goddamn thing.
With the neck gator joke, that was great.
Oh, God. Yeah, just next time somebody asks me to do that, I'm gonna be like, how long is it? No. just no. Yeah, but now we got to make t-shirts. So be on the lookout. Jacked up knee twins t-shirt coming soon. But yeah, no, knee injuries suck, man. Like mine's getting better, but like I definitely feel kind of like there's still stuff I need to take it easy on. Like I can deadlift now and I'm fine.
There you go. Squats
are still kind of so it's just one of those things. Like it sucks.
Yeah, no, knee injuries are like any leg injury is pretty serious. Not gonna lie. I think the least severe leg injury you can get is like a broken toe or like a pulled muscle. But like the knee is there's so many moving parts in that joint, and it's such an irregular way based on like the way our elbows are built. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like you can't like take the injury too lightly.
Yeah, just pop like a bunch of ibuprofen, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Do you know that if it's a cartilage thing, what do you think it is?
I have no idea. The only injury I'm privy to is my back because my back's been screwed up for going on 14 years. So that's the only injury I know about.
Yeah, I can assume that your height doesn't help you with that either.
Oh, nothing else with it. No, it's terrible. Back injuries are the worst, but I mean, and the funny, that wasn't even from directly from swimming either. That was just some stupid thing I did at a summer job. But like, I got a bum elbow, bum shoulder.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be great when I'm a dad and I have to pick my kid up. I'm like, so that's good. That's just awesome.
How did you screw your arms up?
Well, tendonitis.
Oh man, that's not fucking fun.
I mean, I can predict the weather now. I'll tell you what. I can tell you right now. I know when it's gonna be cold. I know when it's gonna rain.
Rain Man.
I'm like, ow! It's gonna rain a little bit.
Honestly, it's weird. Out of all the little, because I used to sprain my wrists and sprain my ankles all the time as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I was always falling, always something was up with me. I never ever got like that sensation of like knowing when it's gonna rain or knowing when it. Like I think, is it something that you feel? Like that's
Oh
what
yeah.
you say.
On cold days, my back hurts more.
Really?
Yes,
Huh.
noticeably.
Because like
Yeah. It's a very strange feeling. I don't really know how to describe it, but like there's like I noticeably know like when it's very cold out, like my back just hurts a little bit more.
Interesting. So does that mean your back is always in pain?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's great. I could sneeze wrong and my back hurts. I stand up wrong, my back hurts.
That sounds
I bend over wrong, my back hurts. I sleep wrong, my back hurts.
You do anything. You breathe, your back hurts.
But yeah, I live, my back hurts. Yeah, so I mean, I've gotten a lot better. I've gotten a lot better at figuring out what to do to help it, but it's one of those things where like that, and that's why that's why I do all the deadlifts and the squats because it helps with it because it's just building it back up. But there's definitely I can tell you right now, there's definitely days and there's been years where I'm just like I'm just in constant pain.
I couldn't imagine, dude.
It sucks.
Like, thankfully, the injuries I've had, like me, foot, hand, thumb, like I've broken like a good handful of bones, and thankfully, none of my injuries have followed me into my adulthood. Like,
oh yeah, now that you put that on the universe.
They heard me. They heard me.
Yeah, you done fucked up, Sally.
Please don't fuck up my knee forever.
Yeah, you're in trouble now.
But for real though, this is the first injury I'm like actually seriously worried about in the long run because my job involves running around on a stage with a microphone and standing. So, I mean, obviously it's going to be a big adjustment to make, for the next at least a month.
Yeah.
But I really just hope this doesn't follow me into turning into like this. This is why I have a bum knee because I slipped down a fucking hill when I was 21. Like,
yeah, that wouldn't be great.
yeah, like when I broke my thumb, like it was my freshman year of high school. I was in an indoor dodgeball trampoline like place, right?
My back hurts from you telling me that sentence.
Yeah. The name of it will kill you even more. Sky Zone.
Oh yeah, we got one of those right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, you guys have Sky. Okay.
The evil trampoline park, as I like to call it.
It is an evil trampoline park. But essentially, I had a ball in my hands. I was throwing it back into the court, right? But when I threw it, I overshot, and it was like the pathway to get into it. There were like steps and everything, and there was a railing. Yeah. And when I threw the ball on my follow through, I jammed my thumb into the railing. It broke just above the last joint, like it right above it. It was like crushed.
Ouch.
And that I thought that was the stupidest injury I obtained until Sunday.
Yeah, until now. But don't worry, you're gonna find out as you get older, you're gonna have a lot of more dumb injuries because you have the same problem I do. We both have big feet. You know how many times? Do you know how many times I whack my pinky toe off tables?
Oh, oh, it's the fucking
It's
worst.
like once a week.
Especially, it's worse if you have those kinds of feet where your pinky toe juts out a little further than the
Oh, no,
rest.
mine don't. I'm just dumb and I don't wear like slippers in the house. I walk around the house barefoot and I'm like conk. And
I bet your whole freaking complex shakes when you let out that like the whale call every time you fuck your leg.
I don't know. I don't know because my neighbor hasn't complained yet, but I have a lot of complaints about one of my neighbors, and I'm not going to get into that.
Or
But
they'll
yeah.
hear you.
Oh, go. Yeah, yeah. Trust me, if I want to, they'll hear me.
Really.
And yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like just figure out your damn knee. Don't start hobbling around. Don't try to be a hero.
Oh
Just,
no.
just let it go.
Yeah. No, like I'm just at a point where I just want to figure out what the fuck's wrong with it.
Yeah.
So that I can know what to do. But I guess that really rounds out today's episode. Is
Yeah.
good stuff, man.
Yeah. So the only other thing probably that we should touch on is in the future, we are going to have a Patreon account.
Yes, we will.
We will. It is in process right now because Heckle and Jekyll here are still trying to figure out how it works.
Right. Yeah.
So there's that. I'm not going to tell you when it's coming out, but eventually it will be down here somewhere in the land of here's where we post stuff. We are going to have 2 tiers. One is going to be extra stuff that's either cut out of episodes that is, quote, on the cutting room floor, or random rants from either myself or Morrow, or if we're feeling squirrely one night, maybe we're going to try to do some song covers. Hope you guys are ready for some tone deaf singing. It's going to be great. And then the second tier, we'll get all the stuff in the first tier, but there will also be an email address. And if you feel like recording a podcast with us, you just send us a song, a topic, and then we'll just go have fun and record it with you. Again, it's coming down the pike. What are we on episode 3? I'm hoping by 10 we have it. We can figure it out in that time frame.
By that point, we'll certainly have it. But if it's sooner, we will let you guys know.
Yes. No, we do 100%. If we can figure it out by episode 10, I don't think we have any business having one. I'm just going to throw that out there. But
no, it is coming together. And
yeah, it's coming together, and I think it looks good, and we just got to figure all that stuff, and then eventually we'll have some merch.
We won't let you down.
Absolutely. There will be t-shirts, and one other thing. Starting now with this episode, the songs that we talk about, we will drop in the description if you want to check them out.
Absolutely.
So that will be a new thing going forward. And there will be episode names. Look at us coming up in the world.
Like this episode, we're going to call this one So We Both Have Jacked Up Knees.
Who knows?
You got to find out. You got to watch.
Yeah.
Thanks again for tuning into the Just Because podcast, episode 3, with your hosts, Marodelo and
Dan the Man. Stay weird, kids. Stay weird.